Let's begin, pal.
How's everyone, Grant here, and welcome back to another camera comparison video with the Galaxy S9 Plus. And today I'm going to put it up against the HTC U11. And even though the U11 came out last year, it still has some really good cameras on it for both photos and video. I used it to shoot a lot of video for this channel, so I do think it's going to put up a very good fight against the Galaxy S9 Plus, and I think it's going to be a very good match for it. So I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and some pretty good lighting conditions. Again, if you want to see a low light camera comparison, let me know, and I'll try to go ahead and make that happen. But check out these photos and videos from the S9 Plus and the U11, and you let me know which one you think is better. Hey everyone, so here is some video from the front-facing cameras being shot at 1080p 30 frames per second. So same resolution on each. Autofocus is locked here on the Galaxy S9 Plus, so hopefully you don't see any kind of focus hunting going on. I noticed it can focus hunt a little bit depending on the changing light, so with autofocus locked, hopefully you don't get any of that, and I'll move it around there so you can see the changing light and how it exposes for it, especially the sky there. And I'll do a quick stabilization test and just walk here so you can kind of compare what the stabilization looks like on each of these front-facing cameras here. Hey everyone, so here's some video from the rear-facing cameras on the S9 Plus and U11 being shot at 1080p 30 frames per second. We've got a nice day here in the park, no clouds in the sky, but we've got some nice colors there, so hopefully you can see the difference, if any, between these two cameras here. And I'll go ahead and pan over to the cell tower and we can test out the zoom. First on the S9 Plus, we've got that 2x optical zoom right there, and we can zoom in all the way 10 times digitally. And so still a very nice, steady, and clear zoom there, even at 10 times digital from the S9 Plus. Do a little bit of a pan there. So you can see it with motion. Zoom back out. And we can go ahead and zoom in on the U11. So there's full zoom there on the U11. Not quite as close, but definitely still steady and still pretty clear there. We'll pan over here as well. And we'll zoom back out. And we'll go ahead and do a focus test in the post here with the S9 Plus first. So there you go, really fast autofocus here on the S9 Plus. And one more time. And it creates a nice blurred background there with a nice shallow depth of field. And we'll go ahead with the U11, focus in the post. Also really quick autofocus here from the U11. And one last time. Also creates a nice little bit of bokeh there with that blurred background. So we go ahead and do some stabilization at 1080p here as I walk down the stairs. So stabilization on both these should be pretty good here at 1080p, 30 frames per second. And I'll go ahead and do one last pan around the park so you can kind of see any change in light and contrast changes, exposure changes. And that's just a quick 1080p sample clip. Hey everyone, so here we go with the same scene in the park, this time at 1080p 60 frames per second. And the Galaxy S9 Plus has a 10-minute recording limit, while the U11 does not have any kind of limit here. So let me know if you can see any kind of a difference here at 60 frames. And we'll go over here and pan over to the cell tower and test out the zoom. So no 2x optical at 60 frames per second from the S9 Plus. So we have a straight 10x digital zoom here, which still looks pretty good here at 60 frames per second. Still pretty clear. Quick little pan over, and we'll zoom out. And zoom in on the HTC U11 here. So that's full zoom at 60 frames. Still looks nice and clear and pretty steady here at 60. And zoom back out. Test out the autofocus real quick here, 60 frames per second. Still fast autofocus here from the S9 Plus. Still looks really good there, and HTC U11 focused up really quickly. So still nice fast autofocus here from both these phones. Still with that nice little shallow depth of field and blurred out background. And we'll do a stabilization test at 60 frames. And this is usually where it's a lot harder to stabilize as we walk down the stairs. So we'll see if we have any difference in stabilization here at 60 frames per second from either of these phones. And again, one last quick pan around the park here. So there you go, 1080p 60 frames per second here on both phones. And here's one last video in the park with the rear-facing cameras at 4K 30 frames per second on each. The S9 Plus has a 10-minute limit recording time, and the HTC U11 has a 6-minute recording time limit at 4K 30 frames per second here. And so we can go ahead and pan over to the cell tower and test the zoom out here. We have our 2x optical at 4K 30 here on the S9 Plus. And we'll have our full zoom 10x digitally at 4K here. And even at 4K, this 10x digital zoom looks really nice and clear and really steady. Pan over here real quick. We'll zoom back out. And we'll test out the zoom here on the U11. And that's its full zoom there. Still pretty clear and nice and steady, just not as far of a reach with the zoom there. We'll zoom back out. And real quick autofocus test at 4K here. S9 Plus first. And still really quick autofocus here out of the S9. And one last time. And here we go with the U11. So also U11 still really quick autofocus speeds here at 4K. Last one there. And one last stabilization test here as we walk down the stairs. Now, the Samsung has been pretty good at stabilization even at 4K. And let's see how the U11 does here in comparison. And of course, one last pan around the park here at 4K.